Hey everybody, it's Kyle, pastor here at Gallup Hill Baptist Church. Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. Welcome to our Wednesday morning coffee devotional series. So today I've got a topic that I want to talk with you guys about that's been on my mind for a little while now. And I've been debating on how to deal with it because I want to be sensitive about it. But at the same time, I think it's something that we've got to take a good hard look at. And that's the area of conspiracy theories. These things have long been kind of a niche thing, right? That there's folks on the left that have conspiracy theories. There's folks on the right that have conspiracy theories. But in our environment that we're in right now, the anxiety and the uncertainty, and there's this need right now among people for answers of what's happening and why is it happening and who's doing it, if anyone. And so what I've noticed is there's a rapid spreading of these things, especially on social media right now. And it's kind of growing beyond what was once, I'll even call maybe a fringe thing. So I want to talk with you guys today, just kind of briefly about what is a conspiracy theory, how do we recognize them, and then how should we as Christians think about them, right? So how do we think biblically and Christianly about these things? And so you look at, conspiracy theories abound, right? There's more of them than there are grains of sand on the beach. Who really killed JFK? Was it the CIA? Or what's really in Area 51? Are there Martians there? Are there spaceships there? Or, was 9/11 orchestrated for a certain purpose? Or, there's fluoride in the public water and that's really here to poison. There's all these things and they abound on either side of the aisle, right? You hear conspiracy theories about President Obama, you hear conspiracy theories about President Trump, and we're starting to see and hear them about the virus itself. Where did it come from? Who's behind it, right? And so, as we think about this, right, on the one hand, we can't completely dismiss these because real conspiracies do exist. And they've come to light, right? If you think about American history, Watergate was a real conspiracy. The CIA's domestic spying program that was around, not that long ago, is a real conspiracy. But if you look at them between conspiracies and conspiracy theories, you'll notice some characteristics, I think, that differentiate them between real conspiracies and what we'll call the realm of conspiracy theories. So if you look at real conspiracies, what you'll find, if you look, right, is that they're generally shorter in duration, right? That if you've got to deceive someone in a few months or a few years or a few decades, right, the longer you go, the more likely the conspiracy is to come to light and the cat gets out of the bag, right? So secrets don't like to be kept, so they have a tendency to want to get out. So what you'll find, generally conspiracies are typically shorter in life, a few months, maybe a few years. You get a few that last a few decades, but they generally tend to be pretty short. They also generally tend to be in smaller groups, because what people know is as that group gets larger, the chances of the conspiracy coming out get bigger, right? That people make mistakes. And this is, these two things, you can see this even in your own life. If you've ever tried to plan a surprise party, right, for your spouse, try to plan a surprise party for your wife, right? You know that the more people that know and the longer they know, the greater chance that somebody's going to mess it up, right? That some friend's going to be talking to her in the parking lot and go, "Hey, we'll see you Saturday." And she goes, "What do you mean we'll see you Saturday?" And they're like, "Nothing, never mind, I got to go, bye," right? More people that know, the longer they know, it tends to come out. And what you'll find also, I think, with real conspiracies, if you look at them, they rarely tend to work out exactly as expected. Because the larger and the longer and the bigger they are, is you can't eliminate human error. And you can't eliminate chance, and you can't eliminate betrayals. And so whatever the goal of them is, oftentimes it doesn't completely get there, okay? So now, kind of making the transition, conspiracy theories, on the other hand, are often very complex, right? There's this connecting of dots of this person has a relationship with this entity, and this entity has a relationship with this person, and that goes to this technology and company, and so there's this web that forms of relationships and persons and organizations and, dots that could just as easily be connected in completely different ways, right? In ways that wouldn't support the conspiracy theory. So they tend to be more complex and kind of this web of dots. They also tend to require, if you look at them, almost superhuman power to pull them off. We know people generally tend to screw up. And so if you have to deceive multiple people over multiple years or multiple countries, right, that the odds of that are so low. Like, people just aren't as powerful and as influential and as crafty as we think they are. And also, if characteristics of conspiracy theories, right, they tend to be complex. They tend to require, almost superhuman power to pull them off. And if they have what I call pinky in the brain syndrome, right? You guys remember that old cartoon, Pinky in the Brain? Two mice, right? What are we going to do today, Brain? Same thing we do every day, Pinky. Attempt to control the world, right? If they're about world domination or this group trying to take over everything, chances are it's a conspiracy theory. And then last, and probably most importantly on these things, if they are unkillable, which means if facts and circumstances and truth come to light that refute the conspiracy theory, but yet it just reorganizes itself and continues on as if nothing happened, right? That no amount of fact or no probability of odds can ever really get rid of it, chances are it's probably a conspiracy theory. So if looking at that, I mean, for Christians, right, let's make the turn here, right? So those are some, I hope those are helpful, right? As you guys kind of look out and see stuff online, stuff people are talking about, helping you try to differentiate between what might be a real conspiracy and what's probably a conspiracy theory. How do we think Christianly about this, okay? And I think on one level, we as Christians are somewhat more susceptible to these things than others are, right? We believe that there is actually a spiritual, personal source of evil in the universe, right? The devil, and that he is out there working, right? And he has minions that are working, and he hates God, he hates people, and so he is scheming, right? So the book of Ephesians 6:11, the Apostle Paul says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. Right? So there's this fact that there's this personal, malevolent source of evil that we believe out there that is actually scheming. And the devil, if we think about it, he's got the power to pull it off, right? It needs superhuman, right? But he has to work. Things we tend to forget, that he has to work through people. And people are mistake prone. Right? And the other thing that, as I thought of as I looked at this is, and often if you go to the scriptures, you'll see a lot of schemes that the devil has. And they rarely work out like he expects them to, right? He organized the greatest scheme of Jewish and non-Jewish and religious and non-religious people in the history of the world to kill Jesus. And that just didn't quite work out for him the way he thought it was going to. Okay, so we shouldn't help, right, spread these things, right? We as Christians, right, I think we have to be a little more discerning than these, right? Because we are called to speak truth. Right, that's one of the things. Ephesians 4:25 says, therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. Right? You Christian, I Christian, we have a responsibility to our neighbors to speak what's true and to make sure that what we say and then what we post is the truth. And with conspiracy theories, it's very difficult to determine what's truth, what's lie, what's fiction, what's circumstance. So guys, we should be very slow to talk about and spread these things. Another reason we should be slow to talk about and spread these things is that oftentimes they are slanderous. Right? We accuse people oftentimes of unproven, circumstantial, kind of tenuous things that damage reputations. And Jesus says, Matthew 12:36, he says, I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. And that's a sobering statement to me. I speak careless words much more often than I should. But this is an area where we don't have to speak careless words here, right? And that we probably shouldn't. We should be much more careful. Another thing I'll say, why we shouldn't spread these things, thinking Christianly right about this, right? They are distracting. Right, guys, we have a mission, right, given to us by Christ. A mission to love God, a mission to love our neighbor, to talk to people about Jesus, to help them believe. And these things, these theories, they occupy our minds and they distract us from our personal growth, from our mission to the world. Right? Ephesians 5, boy, Ephesians has a lot to say to us today. Ephesians 5:15 and 16 says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time." I don't think these are the best use of our time. If there's truth that we want to get out in front of people, there's more important truth about who God is and who people are and how they can be saved that we need to be getting out in front of people. And lastly, I think honestly, guys, this ultimately, it kind of undermines us. It makes us look foolish, right? I am willing to look foolish for Christ, to look foolish for believing in God, to look foolish for telling people that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, right? That there is no other way to God except through him. If the world deems that as a foolish truth, so be it. But guys, we don't have to be made to look foolish for spreading theories that may or may not be true and probably aren't. So my encouragement to you, Gallup Hill, right, is to be careful. To be careful how you think. That if there's things you want to talk about online, talk about Jesus with people, right? Post things and spread things that bring people joy and that encourage people. Post things that ask them questions, that make them wrestle with what's going on in their lives and that might drive them towards God and towards Christ. But let's not waste our time and honestly harm our witness with these type of things, okay? I love you guys. Again, I look forward to the day when we can get back together. And until then, love God, love one another. Take care of yourselves, guys. All right? We'll see you soon. Bye.